Hey everyone, Matt here from Grobo, third time's a charm. I'm joined here by my amazing friend Fiorella. Fiorella and we're based here in beautiful Sarasota, Florida, and we were just talking about business. Fiorella's been advising me and coaching me a bit, and we've both been reflecting together about just personal and professional growth. Fiorella's been putting together a mastermind as part of her business. And I'll ask her in a minute just to give background on herself. But we were also talking about focus and how do you also get focus and take that drive to grow, to make, in my case, the big, hairy, audacious goal that I'm going after is I want our company to grow in record time to $1 million in profit per month. And I've committed, as I was telling Fiorella, to doing that in as quickly as possible, just documenting the journey through YouTube videos and other social media outlets. And it's uncomfortable. So we'll talk about that, focus, sustainability. But yeah, Fiorella, for my audience and maybe for some in yours, would love to know more about your background.
So yeah, my name is Fiorella, and I actually coach men, especially high-performing men, to lead from a place not of, again, that grind and hustle, but really lead from a place of truth, lead from a place of alignment, right? Where everything, and I will never forget, you shared this with me and I loved it. It's like waking up, like every day's Christmas morning.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about it. This question that just came up to me, as we talk about your goal of growing your company, and also as part of it, you realize, okay, what the business needs right now is for me to be consistent in this area. And I'm challenging myself there. So maybe can you share with the audience, like from 15 years since you started your business until now, like what is now challenging, or like what was challenging before probably, and perhaps now you're like, okay, that's not challenging anymore. Now I need to, level up a little bit. So what's that? Like what's that new challenge, and how you have learned from, I guess, your past experiences to like now?
Yeah, I think it's definitely self-awareness in the sense of like the way that I'm personally built to work, and my mind and my body. Like I'm able to work best, I think, in sprints. And certain people are really good at working like kind of the same thing very diligently, very organized every day. And I really admire that. But for me, it's kind of like there's a level of high intensity for like bursts of time, potentially like months at a time, weeks or months at a time. And then I think I need to like kind of take a step back, maybe take a week to like just sleep or something like this, clear my mind, and then come back fully recharged with like a fresh, slightly removed perspective. Because I think too often in the past, which we were kind of alluding to, because you know me personally outside of this conversation too, and I think this is so relevant for so many entrepreneurs as well, because it's so easy to get trapped in the minutia of the day-to-day of business and forget that like part of work is not ignoring how we feel, because that's part of what makes it sustainable. It's part of what allows us to focus as hard as we do. I think in my case, it's easy for me to say, as I said to you before we hit record, like, oh, like I'm really great. I'm really consistent at being inconsistent. But that's not exactly the truth. I think the truth is more nuanced. The truth is kind of more like I've probably burnt myself out a couple of times because I would go too intense for too long, because I sort of have this high, pain or discomfort tolerance. And it allows me to kind of like really work for long periods of time without rest, and without kind of just letting my brain sort of like relax. Like instead it's like a muscle that's always clenched. Again, that can be effective, but doing it too much, too often, I think it leads to this feeling of inconsistency. And that's why I in a way, I perhaps unfairly blame myself, because in terms of the company in 2021, we hit 1.2 million in gross revenue. And that was fantastic. Like I felt such a great, sense of pride in that achievement, starting from, completely bootstrapped the company from my childhood bedroom where I'd given up in a sense on my entrepreneurial dream after getting out of college. I had $200 in my bank account. I had just come off of another startup that wasn't going anywhere. And to go from that to a company, of course, there were years in between. I had to learn a lot, and focus. I think is just such a huge challenge. But and learning to say no in there as well. I think that's part of the consistency. But I think that now that in the last 2 years, kind of overcoming some personal challenges and taking that time, especially for the last 7 months or so, to take a little bit of a step back from the business, to breathe, to actually have more of a social life developed, has been so rejuvenating that now it created this mental space, if you want to call it that, for me to kind of come back and I'm just ready to throw myself back into business. And I've done that at this point. But the challenge, as I really get committed again with making daily videos like we were talking about, the challenge that I'm immediately running into, I'm finding, is that there is a bit of pressure, right? I don't know. I think maybe it's going to come with time, because it's sort of like going to the gym, and I've been lifting, I don't know, let's say 50 pounds every day or whatever. And it's like going to the gym and immediately you're lifting 75 pounds. It's going to be really difficult. I think the body will adapt, and my mind is already starting to adapt, because I don't know, this habit of creating daily content that is sharing the journey as well as educating our audience on different marketing tips and tactics, and hopefully being insightful as well as entertaining to everyone. It was inspired by this other routine, as I was telling you, Fiorella, from my writers group, where we, the writers group, someone came, Kelly, a longtime member of the group, and said, Matt, we were consistent back in January. Let's get back to that. Let's set this aggressive goal. My goal is to publish my book and make some sales, 33 sales out of the gate by September 26th. What's your goal? I said, well, I can't commit to that, but I can do 500 words per day. Let's do it. And it's been almost 2 weeks now of doing that. And it's wow, you start to feel that momentum carry you. And it's let's keep going. And with content, I just started this the other day. It is very uncomfortable. The other two quick points I just want to mention, you mentioned waking up every day and feeling like a kid on Christmas. And that's something that I think in the last couple of days, I haven't been feeling. But I think getting back to that, I think a sense of curiosity and working to learn from a mindset of curiosity, I think is really key there. So yeah.
Great. There are a lot of great things to say. I think going back to these aspects, the first thing when people ask me is where do I start, right? When they are even people who are employees and want and have that desire or that deeper voice, inner voice saying you can start a business or whatnot. And the first thing I say, is just be self-aware. It's awareness that is number one step. And taking inventory. It's what am I good at? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my values? Because it's almost it starts stepping into a foundation. If we think about when we're going to grow something, we need to prepare the soil. So that's kind of okay, let me see what I have now, right? It's if you're going to, when business do inventory, it's not like they just wake up and say, well, I'm just going to order 10 boxes of chocolate ice cream because people like it. And it's you already have an understanding of what you have. The same thing.
Pistachio ice cream, by the way.
Pistachio. There we go.
Really good.
Yeah,
Dangerous.
I really like it. Actually, now it's meant for me. It used to be coconut, and now meant chocolate.
Okay. Have you ever tried pistachio? Oh my God. Maybe don't try it.
Yeah, actually, I saw that something about Jello pistachio. I'm I don't know how Jello pistachio tastes, but okay, But yeah, going back to that, I think it's critical to, when you start anything, right, is asking why am I doing that? When I hit moments where okay, I feel, okay, is there pressure? Why there's pressure? Where is that feeling coming from? Perhaps asking yourself too, right? It's why am I doing all this? And what is ultimately my vision? I know you mentioned is freedom. And that's what I love about entrepreneurship. It's we risk time and money for freedom. And then employees feel they they risk freedom for time and money. I will leave that out there, but it's interesting because that's what sometimes we don't realize, that those are things that fuel us, like understanding the why behind everything. If we sometimes the pressure may come because sometimes we feel, okay, it's just to make $1 million a month. Like we understand that, but sometimes we overestimate what we can do in 1 year and underestimate what we can do in 10. So my question is actually, do you have a 10-year plan? Do you have a 5-year plan, right? Where actually you set up things when you know that even though you may not going as fast, you're still having progress. You know what I mean? Because this is not like a, one day to another. I think is having that consistency also to be okay. Like I'm consistent on what like works for me, but also what is important and the focus part. And that's what you say too, is learning how to say no. Yeah. So once you have your preparing the soul, you have the inventory, right? It's like, okay, these are my strengths, this is what I can work on. Then after that, you're like, okay, what is now then based on my inventory? I'm going to focus now, first step, right? And then after that is like, now that you have focus, which is sad, but a lot of people, when I even ask them, like, what is your vision? Like, I don't know. What do you want? I don't know. Well, when you don't know, like, and you don't know what to focus on, it's so easy to lose time and energy on things that they're not aligned with your mission. And learning to say no, like you just said earlier, you say learning how to say no is so important, having boundaries, especially when you have a clear vision and focus on that, because then now you won't feel guilty saying no. It's like, I'm saying no for a bigger yes.
Yeah, I was doing a lap around my neighborhood after I ate dinner last night. I found that it's really helpful to just go for walks in general, and I've been doing it recently. And I was listening to, sometimes I won't listen to anything, I'll just kind of think, clear my head. But last night I was listening to this other entrepreneur talk about the power of focus and how even after making hundreds of millions of dollars, it's still the number one thing that he feels, he's still like working on as a skill, just like saying no by default to everything that is not what you want. And to that point too, I think, he said that many people have a list of things that they want, or goals even, but they don't have like an anti-goal list as well. So kind of like defining like, well, what is the inverse of what you want? I think that's actually probably a useful exercise that I've never done. Maybe, I'm pretty sure I've never done that, but I think it's a useful exercise that people watching this may get some value from. And I think that like from saying yes too many times to too many different things, and you kind of learn what it is you don't want in the process of. But I think part of learning is actually understanding in terms of like, it's the application of the no. It's like, okay, I know that I don't want this, so I say no to that. Or it's like a change of behavior. Yeah, I think what you say yes to is whatever sort of like you want, wherever you want to feed your focus, because if you're saying yes to it, it better align with what it is that you actually want. And you and I were talking, like, I think a few weeks back, just kind of being as clear as possible on like what it is that you want is so critical. You mentioned core values. The core value that is a core value of the company as well as my own. Our core values are continuous self-improvement, creativity, and enjoyment. Enjoyment is the one that I've neglected for far too long. And I think that's part of why I needed, a little bit of space. And I've just been so grateful for developing, the social group and the friend group that I've been in recent months. I've put together and that you've, been a part of too. With that, we're coming back into business from that attitude of gratitude, not to sound cliche, but it's true. I think that's where this emotion that I feel almost like a limitless sense of energy to work in the business, and it feels so sustainable because it's just from excitement, it's curiosity, because it's like, I'm just so excited to get in the business and tinker and to learn versus, I think the $1 million profit per month goal, it's super ambitious. I even said in my video yesterday in setting it that it does sound ridiculous even to me, at least where we're at today. But I know it's never a question of if, it's only a question of how. And I don't have a clear deadline for it. It's kind of just like, It's kind of like just something to help me kind of focus my attention and my choices, because it's like, all right, well, how do we get there? And how like what are the assets that we can leverage and pull on today? Because we grew 936% in 8 months in from 2020 to 2021. So I know that that's more than possible because we did it. We went from 10,000 a month to over $100,000 in revenue, net revenue per month by March of 21. So we've done that before. Yeah, so I definitely believe it's possible. I don't know what timeline is realistic. It might be years, but maybe it's sooner. I'm gonna find out. But I just want to like push as hard as possible. I guess I'm just also feeling some resistance though, because maybe it's too externally. Maybe it just mindset. I got to be more in the curiosity type of space and the gratitude. I think I want to get back to more of the gratitude type of space as I move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what I'm hearing a lot, and I love that you brought this, is again, experience comes from the Latin root of experientia, which means experiment, right? It's interesting because a lot of times we almost like grew up and we completely suppress, shut down like that childish curiosity that you mentioned, right? And sometimes if you think about it, right, like all the great entrepreneurs, like they always come with like, let me test this, let me experiment with this, let me be curious about this. And those are the ones that get farther because again, you're coming from that energy and not the energy of lack and fear, like, oh, I have to, or, like almost like meeting quote unquote expectations. Like it's a programming that we already have. It's like we don't even like, even if we wouldn't want it as a society, we have been programmed to achieve and to go and to get things done. But I think if we tap into that curiosity, and you come from a place like, okay, like you're doing, right? So I'm gonna do like recording 7 days a week. Like see it as an experiment, right? And even like at the end, like just journaling and reflecting. And I love that you take your walks. Actually, I think it was Thomas Jefferson that actually he said, or Truman, I forgot, one of those. They used to walk after dinner every night, and that's where they would get the best thoughts and the best insights. But going back to what I'm saying is, I think it's important to always have a conversation with oneself. It's like, okay, I'm gonna do this, but it's not just about money. Like that's like the vision is like, I want to, perhaps even including why you're doing, like, of course you want to set that goal, but sometimes as humans, we thrive more when we are in service. Like, what am I service here? Like, what's the service that I'm providing that is going to benefit as a collective? Because when you put yourself like you're just a vessel, whatever like your gifts are, and you're putting it out there for people, it's not just for you. Because sometimes when it's just we think it's just for us, like it could get a sense of pressure. But if we say, no, this is for the better good of other people, right? It's like, why am I doing this? Because I think you even shared, like, I feel like a lot of people need to learn or know about this. They haven't known yet. So again, this creating, especially in the AI world, right? There's a lot of people that are in a state where I don't know what I'm doing. My business is, nowhere it needs to be. And again, for some people, like listening to you, it will help them. Who knows? Maybe just by listening to you, something great happens in their business. And you don't know what you don't know, right? So again, I'm coming from a place of service. Like this is what I'm trying. This is genuinely what I'm trying to do. Yeah. And at the end of the day, that's what, as humans, we love helping people. It's just a nature of us. Yeah. And when we start doing things, knowing that, you already have the vision, right? Like you say, you don't know when you're gonna hit that goal, but at the end of the day, it's almost like that vision pulls you, right? Yeah. And reflecting is like, how did I feel today? Was I coming from a place of curiosity, or that programming that we have to hustle because
Yeah.
it's there, so we have to like check with ourselves, because
Mhm.
sometimes it's a very fine line, like I say, because as a collective we have been programmed to do very masculine, instead of flowing and actually like more of the feminine, right? And men and women, we have the both energies.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when we learn, like you say, maintaining that sustainable confidence, sustainable of like feeling in that state of like I focus and I flow, that's feminine. And
Yeah.
actually, AI is a feminine energy. That's why you guys are so drawn by AI, because AI is creative.
Mm.
Creativity is feminine.
Mm.
Everything that moves, energy, nature is feminine.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think keeping the energy, for lack of a better term, like integrated, where it's like it's doing, it's regimented, in terms of like the masculine, but also flowing in terms of like the curiosity, the enjoyment, the gratitude, the looking at it as like, I don't know, through the eyes of a kid, like let me see what's going to happen. I'm interested. Yeah, I think just figuring out how to, because like when you were talking, like some of the things you were saying made me think of like so much of the content that I have seen and that I have learned from, but that also I think is actually very negative at the same time. And you even hear it from some of the largest names and influencers out there who are already kind of like at the top of the mountain in terms of their career or whatever. I guess that's part of why I wanted to like have this journey, have this experience too, because I've been listening to many of these, smart, successful, mostly male entrepreneurs, and I'm like, what do they have, that I don't in terms of my years of experience? And it's like, well, honestly, the main difference is that they're putting it out there and I'm not, and they're being more consistent about it than I am. So I see it as a challenge that way. But I guess sort of the negative flip side to that coin is that it's almost like what I would call bully marketing, and it's just like it's very, very subtle, but it's in so much the content that I see online. And the world is a mirror, right? So the algorithm in terms of your social media feeds, like it's going to feed you whatever you're interested, whatever you click on. So this is maybe a little bit of a reflection of just me, but millions of other people too are seeing the same content, granted. So what I mean by bully marketing is like there's so much focus on like comparison. Like that's the subtle part of it. It's the monkey brain, right? It's the reptilian part of the brain where just that's why, so many studies are out there. You're on social media, especially younger kids, causes depression. You're comparing yourself to the alleged success or perfect life of someone or someone else. And it's not real. It's just a snapshot, but it's not real almost all of the time, or at least it's not the full picture. I had a friend, a couple, they were putting all, years ago, they're putting all these beautiful photos of themselves, like getting ready to get married and whatever on Facebook in the past. But in reality, because he was a close friend, I knew that they were fighting and they were never more unhappy in their lives, but they still put this nonsense out there. But in terms of bully marketing, there's so much of like, oh, like my business is making $100,000 per month or 200,000 per month and $1 million per month and, $100 million plus man or $1 billion and this to this to this. And it's like, it's used as a hook. I don't think they're necessarily trying to harm people or make anyone feel bad. And that's not my intention either with setting my goal or with sharing any numbers now or in the future. But yeah, it's just, it does kind of get into that vein of thinking of like, you just have to grind. And there isn't an alternative to that. But I think there is. I think the alternative is focus with action, but also like sustainability, making sure to prioritize, like, am I actually enjoying the work? It's okay to feel uncomfortable. I mean, I go to the gym, I feel uncomfortable lifting the weight, but am I in pain? Like that's the difference.
Yeah, no, and I love that. I think something that came to me too, and I think we talk about it at some point, is this idea that, and again, as a somatic coach, like I focus so much on like on the body wisdom, right? Our body is so wise, like it's receptive to everything. Our nervous system, I mean, it's how we experience the world, right? Everything gets stored there. Since we're little, like everything gets stored, all that programming is there. So one quick check-in, again, when you are through those moments is, does this contract me or expands me?
Yeah.
right? Because even like you say, okay, I'm gonna record these videos, right? They could, it's okay. There could be some like uncomfort, like all that, but that's, you have to ask yourself that is actually expanding me or is like contracting me? Because the body will tell more than the mind. The mind will sometimes trick us. Like we talk about this comparison thing, and that's how it trick us. Like we, again, if we don't have that foundation is strong enough for like core values like self-awareness, like the inventory, like it's so easy to compare ourselves. Like that's again masculine thing. Like we think like we all the time have to compete. Like the only the competition is you against you.
Yeah.
That's what I say. Like that's it right there. It's like it might be coming better than yesterday. And that's the word, right? Becoming. It's like you're doing this and it feels uncomfortable. Yeah, because you're training your nervous system to be comfortable into something. But that's also who you need to become. Like the Matt that you're saying, okay, I want to generate, $1 million a month. Well, that has to, like the Matt that is going to be in that position, be able to handle and receive and everything that involves receiving that money. Is like you have to prepare, and life is gonna prepare you in different ways, challenges in different ways, like you being self-aware, say, okay, I need to be consistent to do. So you're gonna see like how different you're becoming, because that's what it's gonna take, is becoming. Even the pauses, right? You share something so valuable to me the other day. Like I force, and again, sometimes it needs to happen, like where you just alone with your own thoughts, because it's so easy to escape. It's so easy, like go out, like and distract yourself without facing what truly needs to be faced in order for you to go to the next level. Like for you to become that man is ready to receive the 100 million a month, that's going to be a different version. And that's going to take a lot. And again, that's the reason why a lot of people who are like up there, like they don't say that part. We see the end, but we don't know everything that they have gone through. Like we don't know. Some people, like even Gary Vee, I think he said one time, like I really don't show anything because I don't. Again, that's everybody's different, right? Some people, when they will talk, people will sense the energy and they will know if that's authentic or it's not. And unfortunately, we live in a society where we're always trying to receive some sort of validation.
Yeah.
Right? Validation. We want people to see we have this perfect life, like you share about your friend. And I've seen it come. I mean, that's why I don't even bother, sometimes like I'm like, no, that's just one version they want to put out there, but that's not real life. Like at the end of the day, like it's how you feel with yourself when you are alone. That's the most precious thing. Like if you're really full of gratitude, full of like joy, like in your own, like with your own being, your own thoughts, that's also part of freedom. Because now you're not like, I need to prove this and I need to show this and all that. No, like, and if I want to share, I make $200,000, that's fine. But because again, people will know what's true, what's not.
Yeah.
What's real, what's not. Like, is the energy. Like we feel that. We feel when something is really authentic and when it's fake.
Yeah. There was this famous director. He has some really great movies. Kevin Smith. He made Dogma and Mallrats and some other kind of comedy dramas. And he came from nothing in New Jersey. And what you were saying made me think of the idea that like all or most failures or unhappy people are failures in the same way, but all successful or happy people are successful and happy in different ways. And I think that the difference is just like charting your own path, because it's so easy to get, you mentioned the somatic and the body and like, feeling your body, and it keeps the score. It's clenching or tensing. A lot of times, a lot of it's subconscious. We don't notice, until later, like if we're relaxed or if we're not, if we're flowing, But as you're speaking, it reminded me like I have been in this mindset. I've been listening nonstop because I'm off of social media. I don't have any social media on my phone except for YouTube. And I was listening kind of obsessively after work hours last night to these different podcasts and just trying, like, my goal was good. It's like trying to learn and absorb. But at the same time, like the somatic in my body, like I feel like sense of pressure, you know, it feels like tense, like, oh man, like it's like 8, 9, 10 p.m., whatever. And I should be working. And I kind of am. I'm not resting. I'm not letting the muscle just for a few hours, just kind of open up. But I think I also relate that to this director, probably some of the most 6 minutes of productive time that I spent on YouTube yesterday, which was this director, Kevin Smith, talking about how he came from nothing. He became this Hollywood director as a kid, just wanting, like he just wanted to be in movies no matter what. And he got started and he turned out to be successful. But he said, like, I feel like my life, I'm just, because his name is Kevin Smith, I feel like I'm just a professional Kevin Smith. I feel like that's my title. I'm just professionally like acting as myself. And I love that because I think, you know, the more that you can stay in that vein, like, and just kind of have confidence in yourself and flow from that place, which again, for the guys watching, it sounds maybe a little woo-woo or whatever, but it's true, because I think that, again, you're not going to be operating from templates and just, you know, very tactical and copying someone else. And then it's because it feels like a straitjacket, you know, like I look at, and this may sound critical, but I do study like body language in people when I see them on podcasts and whatever. And honestly, I tend to trust the guys less if they have like, if they're really buttoned up, very like well-to-do, and it's like the perfect haircut and whatever. I just kind of trust it less, because the most successful person monetarily who I ever interacted with was this billionaire in college after I won this business competition. I got to go have dinner with him. The guy would walk around in a t-shirt and Reebok sneakers. He just didn't give a damn. And he was amazing. He always sold these great stories. But yeah, I think when you're coming from a place of authenticity, I think you're gonna wake up feeling like that kid. And I think coming from that place of limitless energy, which itself, you're going to be able to, ironically, outwork the competition. And that's gonna be, I think, the most sustainable advantage. I'll finish on this note, and then we can wrap up with any of your final thoughts. But so I threw a party, and you were there the other weekend, and we had a bunch of friends over, and you know, we were going to paint my table because from previous parties there was like some damage. It really wasn't any damage, but I just wanted an excuse to paint the table. So this big coffee table, and initially, like, we put down all these garbage bags to like cover the couch and cover the floor and the walls to make sure paint didn't get on anything. And at first everyone was kind of nervous, like, oh my God, like, it's a nice coffee table, Matt. I think it's gonna get ruined. Like, maybe we shouldn't do it. Like, are you sure? I felt so much like myself, I think, in the moment that I decided, just fuck it. Like, I'm just gonna put down the paint and let's just go for it. And we did. And I remember there's a photo, I didn't share it with you and others maybe yet, but the moment the paint was dropping on the table, like, there are a few people in the background, their mouths are just hanging open, like, oh my God, this is gonna be terrible. And it felt good in hindsight, and it was sort of vindicated in the fact that, like, the table turned out wonderful, and you jumped right in. You had excellent color choice, by the way, which I think is a testament to just, you know, your taste and your good judgment. And yeah, it was a collaborative painting thing. It just turned out really, really cool. I'll share photos in maybe a future video or post or something. But yeah, I think coming from a place of authenticity and flowing from that place, I think, can be a real sustainable competitive advantage for focus and for just growing faster than maybe everything is possible. Yeah, but it's almost like you can't try to get there. You kind of have to just be there.
Yeah, it's taking the leap of faith on things, right? Is detaching from the outcome too, knowing, like, this is a great example, right, that you just share about. There was no expectation. There was like, no, it has to look as pretty and have the colors have to match. And like, no, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like everyone was at their essence, and they have freedom, and they were challenged, and they have curiosity, and they were able to test it. They didn't know, of course, you know, we care about not doing damage, but like, when we were it was just so beautiful to see like how everyone kind of wanted different colors. Like they were in their zone. They were flowing, right? And honestly, it came out beautiful. Like we never planned it that way. Like we didn't care. Like, but again, that's the beauty, and that's how little things like experiences like that we can translate, and they show us like why we don't do the same in our business, in our relationships. That's probably the next topic we can talk about. Relationships. But yeah, I mean, it was just so great. And then going back and to close this, like the comparison part that you mentioned is we have to set also limits and boundaries. It's like, okay, at this point in time, like routines, right? What is gonna feed my soul, right? And I'm like you, like I don't really have much social media. I mean, YouTube now, something I'm gonna grow, but I put limits, if I'm gonna watch something, it's like 10 minutes a day or something. But just because, I even don't follow other coaches. I don't want to copy anybody. Like I just want to be Fiorella and like be me, and whatever that looks like, it is. And at the end of the day, people will follow you and care about you because of who you are and know what you do. And I think when we get to, and to close this, like I think when we understand that the more you are, like the more genuinely authentic, like if I want to, like I could have like billions of dollars, but if I want to walk in a freaking shirt and like flip-flops, like that's confidence, right? And that's what you trust people, because sometimes they want to put out there like someone they are not. But it's as soon as you're the most authentic, you feel the energy. You feel it, because it's like confident people, like they don't need to say anything. You just feel it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Absolutely. And I'm reminded of a quote to wrap up here, where you and I, we went for a walk in the park one day, and we were talking about, I think you mentioned something that made me wonder if, you were we were talking about Buddhism a little bit, and I said, oh, are you a Buddhist, Fiorella? You said, oh no, I'm not a Buddhist, I am Fiorella. And I love that quote because it reminds me of multiple other quotes that I've heard from Bruce Lee, and I think also Salvador Dali. He said, I don't take drugs, I am drugs. I am Salvador Dali. I'm in life acting out the life of Salvador Dali. Salvador Dali was a little crazy, but he created beautiful art. He's a very successful painter, obviously. So I love that quote. And thank you very much for joining me to have this conversation. You can check out Fiorella by searching for her name, which you can see spelled there in the background, or you can Google search for Lumini World, right?
Yeah, Lumini World is actually like a big project, I would say. That's where we are supporting conscious businesses to really expand and scale, again, from creating that community of business owners like you, who are creating conscious businesses. And that's how we are building this Lumini World, which means a world of light, where we get to be, like you say, this vessel. Like I'm Fiorella, I'm just walking, I'm just a light. Like that's what we need more in the world. We need more lighthouses. So actually we're revamping the website, but yeah, so one part of it, as I say, one part of my service is coaching men. And I'll share too with a link of the actually mastermind that is coming next month. So
perfect. All right, we'll include that in the description. And yeah, I would recommend Fiorella. I've known Fiorella for a while now. And I think especially, if you are in business and you're looking for a coach, I think especially as men, I think we can be so much more effective when you're able to integrate some of the ideas and the energy that Fiorella can bring to you as a coach. As we were talking about, and as Carl Jung, the famous psychiatrist has talked about, it's, as people, integrating the masculine and the feminine is part of how we become the best version of ourselves. And in business, becoming the best version of yourself also means becoming the most effective version of yourself and creating your own authentic, sustainable advantage where work doesn't feel like work and your success is almost effortless. So I think Fiorella, if you're considering a coach, can help you achieve that. And that's my testimony.
Beautiful say. Thank you, Matt. I really appreciate it. I guess the end of the day is all about spreading that awareness, and yeah, just part of my deepest purpose and mission in life. So
absolutely. All right, thank you, Fiorella, and thank you all for watching.
Thank you.